I'm running away from the past I left behind. I'm looking for answers, but I'm blinded by the light. I'm lost in the music, can I stay here for the night? I promise I'll be gone in the morning, out of sight and out of mind. No blind, out of sight and out of mind. No when you keep running, but your legs are standing still. It's like you're stuck in a nightmare, but you keep doing it for the thrill. Well, this is reality, you only live it once, so wake up from your dream. But just for tonight, let the lines get blurred, let your thoughts be free, let your thoughts be free.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest Elite FPL stream with myself, Steo, and joining me is somebody who you can blame for this stream. It's Nick Turner of the Total Steve podcast. Nick Turner of Extras fame. Nick, talk to me. Why on earth did you want to do a stream on the day that England are playing?
Well, I just thought it's typical Juice and Elite FPL style to the one day that you can watch England play for free on terrestrial TV, available to millions. Let's stream then, so we get absolute minimum watchers. That's always been our aim, especially on Juice. Champions League nights, we're there.
Do you even like international football? Because I just do not care, mate.
I only tournaments, really. There's not too much to get excited about. You know, I still can't see you, right? By the way,
I'm fully aware you won't see me, mate, because I've seen everything.
Oh, well, that I've seen it all. Well, that was my other reason. I just wanted to see your face, but clearly I'm not going to get that wish. So on that note, I'll see you later.
Yeah, this podcast stream is going to take the same format as what happened with Shane the other day, which was essentially just me and Nick quoting The Office and extras throughout the evening. And there's Ash. He's running across the grass, and his knickers drop off. And I've seen everything.
I can see it all, of course. He's I love Shane. Veteran is such a good guy. To be fair, no one makes the effort to come down to the Juice studio from Scotland. Like, it's just such a top guy. Like, he's just, the amount of work he puts in, and obviously now he's got the double pivot show, hasn't he? Which he's doing with
Kieran.
So I really hope that goes well for him. They're working really, really hard on that, and they're a good blend actually between the two of them. They got something really good there, so I hope they stick at it.
Yeah,
it sounds a bit like that sketch from. Well, of course, Shane from coming on the Juice show, which of course I do with Ash, who when he came on your podcast, of course, didn't he? And now those guys are doing the Double Pivot podcast, which you may be aware of it. I think he's been on a Stick to FPL as well. Yeah, maybe you know them, right? You know those guys. They've been on your show as well, haven't they? Been on your podcast on Elite FPL.
It's
incestuous world of FPL podcast.
Well, this is the thing. Like, Roberto made this comment to a gentleman that they had on for their latest podcast.
Ah, yeah, form is temporary.
That's it. That podcast.
That podcast. You know that podcast. I've been on that podcast with Ash, who of course you know from the FPL Juice podcast.
So he made a point to this guy that he said, you've come into a world which is oversaturated, and he made this point: just keep up the doodling, and
don't give up the doodling.
Literally, just keep up doing what you're doing. It's the same. I said it after I may have even said it on air. I can't even bloody remember. I don't even care. With Kieran and Shane, just do it because you enjoy it. Don't do it because you're chasing numbers or subscriptions or whatever. Just do it because you actually want to do it. And I think Kieran and Shane both have a voice that needs to be, I say needs to be, but people should go out their way to listen to, because I'm not going to lie, I've listened to one episode and I will definitely be listening to the next one, because as I said to Shane, admittedly was this just from this one episode, but just breaking down the upcoming matches for the game week and in an analytical way, which an idiot like me will understand it. And obviously you, as a person that is on a large platform in FPL Juice, understands the saturated market that we at Elite FPL, you at Juice, and the small time content creators, shall we say, we know how difficult it is being part of that FPL content creating world and trying to stick out from the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to do something different. At the point where we are at now, you can't just. I think the landscape's changed a lot over the last few years. So you do, and I always make this point. Listen, when I say certain things about the presentation of podcasts, it's not that I think one's better than the other. I just listen to what I prefer. So for me, I quite like to do my research by watching games and having a read up of stats and stuff, but I'm not comparing every single metric. I'm not an analytical manager. So the sort of podcasts that people like, because there's a lot of people out there that just want to know, tell me which player to pick this week, which one's captain, which transfer should I make? And they almost want to let that show or that podcast pick their team for them. Which for me is my worst nightmare. I'd rather play, as you'll see from my team, it's not doing that great. But I definitely want to sort of hopefully introduce those sort of bit more fun element with that. And obviously the guests we have on and you get to see a different side. Like we had Praz on our show on Tuesday,
Brilliant show.
And you will struggle. I think you'll struggle to find another show that Praz has been a guest on where you've seen that side of his personality. And it's always, that's all we try and do. We're not experts at FPL. We just try and have a bit of fun with the game. And the reason we have guests is because they're the ones normally that are the experts, if you're even allowed to still use that word without being hung, drawn, and quartered. But they are the ones that know their way around the game, that will tell you, these are the moves I'm planning to make and this, that, and the other. But I'm more interested to find out, would you rather, I can't even think of the examples now, but would you rather do something sick with your mum?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, would you rather have... Would you rather have sex in front of your mum and dad or your children?
Yeah.
Before, I do actually want to delve deep into some subject matters that me and you like to talk about a lot. And I know that you didn't have the opportunity to discuss one of the matters the other day. And like I said, to the audience listening into this live or anybody listening on the replay, this is just me and Nick talking absolute tripe. And it's just two blokes in their 30s. Oh, wait a minute, we're in our 40s now. What am I on about? We're in our, in our 40s.
In our 40s.
We're in our 40s, and we just want to have a laugh tonight, really. But we will be talking FPL, just to let you know. But the reality is like, we just want to have the opportunity while we can. Nick said to me, look, Steve-O, I wouldn't mind doing a stream with you. Fancy doing it? Yeah. When do you want to do it? This time, done. Let's get on with it. So thanks for everybody joining us that is here now. David, hello. Michael Swedden, Zimmy. David's saying it's like you're stuck in a nightmare, but you keep doing it for the... oh, right, yes, the lyrics to the song. I'd rather have the latest song, what did you call it, Nick? The Deathcore Dance...
Deathcore Trance.
That's it,
the latest craze, sweeping the Swedish trance scene. They've introduced Lorna Shaw on vocals.
Patrick's probably turned off now after what you just said 5 minutes ago. He says, hi lads, what do you guys think of Robertson to Dalot? Think United have been solid at the back this season so far. Did think though that Martinez for Martinez at first, but he was benched in Gameweek 7, so don't want the headache. A Liverpool defender, the best defence in the league so far, for a Man United team who, yes, they can keep clean sheets, but it's Man United, Nick, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, the caveat, I'm no expert, but I haven't got one single Man United player in my team. I don't plan on bringing one in. And if you do fancy bringing one in, I think you've almost now at the point, you've got to wait for that new manager bounce. Because I feel like it's coming. Oh,
well, let's talk about that. You actually think that Ten Hag's, because Jason thinks it's happening soon.
Yeah, only from stuff I'm seeing. I've got no inside information on that, but it just, when you hear the rumours are getting more and more and more, prevalent and louder and louder, and I just think it can't go on too much longer the way it has. Man United are a huge, huge team. And how long can they just put up with the way it's going? And once you start hearing these rumours, even if they've got Van Nistelrooy there, like surely just for a bit of an upsurge in the mood and the morale, you can just give it Giggsy to end the season. Do you know what I mean? Just let him take over, because something's not right there. But in fairness, I don't think it's Ten Hag's fault. How many bad managers can you have? Do you know what I mean? Van Gaal is not a bad manager. Mourinho, not a bad manager. There's something not right at Man United, and it's not always the manager's fault.
No, their upcoming fixtures: Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea. That's their next 3. Where you'd expect every single one of them teams to score against Man United. Then it's Leicester, Ipswich. In fact, Patrick, if you're still listening, I wonder if that's Patrick Bateman in disguise. I wonder if that's his alter ego here. I would say from game week 11, maybe look at that transfer. But Robertson, he's got, they're not great fixtures. Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton. In fact, I would say they're horrible fixtures. But to bring in a Man United defender, no chance. I mean, the fixtures are up on screen. I've put them up there. If you're going to be looking at any defender to be bringing in, you're looking at potentially maybe Tottenham, even though they don't really keep clean sheets. But from an attacking perspective, you've got Van der Ven and you've got Porro, even though by all accounts he's dropping deeper and deeper and deeper to the point of where he's pretty much in goal. Everton, decent fixtures. Other than that, it's either a hold for me or go for, like I just said, Spurs, Nottingham Forest. And that's pretty much about it, to be honest with you, Patrick. But thanks for the question. We then have a few more people. Matthew Zaishi, welcome, pal. Manchester Reds must be doing well so far, even though he says he's only got... I can't... I'm sure you're being sarcastic there. 186. Is that any good? I'm pretty certain you're taking the piss. Kevy's saying, are you watching the England game? The answer for me is no, I have literally zero interest in England. Nick's just said that he doesn't really have any. I mean, even if the game ended 6-0, Nick, would you be caring at all?
I want to see England do well. To be fair, Luca went to the last England game and he had a great time. He loved it, but he went with Kate, mainly because we only had we got the tickets last minute, so we only had two tickets. But he went and he absolutely loved it, you know. And I think that's what the friendlies are good for. It's just letting kids watch them in a safer environment than all of the normal idiots that go to the competitive games in the Euros when they start attacking each other after 5 minutes because, you know, the beer's a bit too strong at 4% or whatever it might be.
Yeah. And
when I look down, by the way, I'm looking at the stream so I can see the questions. I'm not just staring at them.
And what percentage beer is that you're drinking at the moment?
Nothing too heavy because what is it? 4.3. It's not. It's fairly heavy. I did mention Kate's my wife is away for a few days, so that's another reason for doing the stream.
You're taking it out to the town by drinking on your own in a house while streaming with another four.
My favourite thing when my wife's away, my favourite thing to do is chat on webcams with other men. So yeah, nothing unusual here.
Like I said, I've got a really long journey tomorrow, Nick. If you could just do most of the talking, that'd be bloody brilliant. Roberto, good evening. Roberto, I'm going to be, I should be on his podcast next week, hopefully with Jason, that we're kind of up umming and ahhing about what day we're going to be bloody doing it. But you know what it's like, Nick, when it comes to arranging guest spots. It's very difficult to align the times, no matter how far in advance you can do it. People that have got very busy lives, it's difficult to potentially commit to something which is, let's get real here, on a Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock. It is quite difficult.
Mm-hmm. It's hard. And then also, especially if you're going live, you want to, you guys are the same, right? Your audience is, we're not in it for number of views, we're more in it for the quality of views and the community that we've got, same as you. So I don't want to go, and that's the whole reason we do it live as well. I don't want to just pre-record something and then read a couple of comments, if you can even beg enough people to drop a comment afterwards. But what you want to do is have regulars that you know and that get the in jokes and that join in every week and they know each other, they chat in the chat. I've already seen Coleman and Roberto, obviously. It's great to see that, because then you get, you know all these people. You do, after years of doing this, when they pop up in the chat who's who, and the stuff that they joke about with you, and it becomes a social thing. And you want to do that every single time so that everyone can make it and join in, and it becomes a bit of like, basically like, let's meet at the pub at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Let's all get together. And you want to be able to do that. So that live element's really important, but you're right, it is difficult. And that's why we always appreciate when guests do make the effort to come, because a lot of it, like Praz, comes straight from work. You can see he's like fresh out of his like shirt and trousers straight from work, and he's rushed rushed over from London. Nima did the same this week. You know, jumped on a train, come straight across to Mill Hill where the studio is, and they take their time out to join us, and no one's getting paid, us included. And
although I'd argue with Nima especially. Let's get real here. He gets paid quite a lot of money with his actual jobs. He could probably get a private taxi.
Yeah. Well, he does. Yeah, as you say, he sells arms to third world countries, so he is making so much money out of that. You've got to respect the hustle, as he calls it.
Well, it's funny you mention these guys because, you know, like the people I'm seeing here. I mean, we got FPL Spotter, Genius Gamer, Kickers, Odin, Lewis Benali, Buffy's here, David Emil, and there's many others joining us right now. And like you said, it's community. And certainly for me, meeting all these people at the FPL meets and certainly in the Juice tournaments and whatnot, it's so, for me, bringing the guests on now, because I'll be asking Roberto at some point soon to come onto the show, and getting these guys on throughout the week. I'm just I wish I wasn't going through my depressed, pissed off state last season where I was hating FPL. I hated the fact that I was doing solo streams, but now I've got the opportunity with Ray, for example, or someone like yourself that's happy to come on. And Shane's already just said to me the other day, look mate, if you're in a bit of spot of bother looking for a guest, just call me up. I'll most likely be there. And when you speak with these people, it's like you say, it's just got this instant camaraderie, and it's what makes the show. I mean, Roberto's saying here, like, the pair of you are both cracking me up already, which is good. This is what we're here for. We just want, hopefully, people just watching the game on silence and just having me and you in the background, just listening into two blokes chatting away.
Yeah. Well, interestingly as well, you say, you know, about doing the solo streams and how you found it really tough towards the end of last year, and I completely get that. Like, and I've said this to you. I'm not saying, you know, you'll vouch for me here. I've said this to you. I'm not just saying it because we're live on air. I've said this to you many a time. But what you do, not just with Elite FPL, but what you do on the total Steve-O bonus.
You nearly messed up then.
Yeah, and the bonus Steve total bonus podcast is that you can talk for sometimes an hour and a half, just you, and you do a great job at it. And and James always says to me as well, and we're always of the mind that, you know, we could listen to you for hours because we just find it fascinating. But the way you tell a story and the way you do that on your own, I couldn't do that. I couldn't talk into a camera on my own for an hour plus regularly and still make it engaging and interesting. And I think that's what you do, really. I'm not trying to, you know, suck up to you. Just
come on, tell me more. Come on. I want my ego to grow.
As I've said this to you before, it's true. It's really hard. But as you say, the fact now that you've got guests, you naturally you're going to find your enthusiasm comes back for it, you know. And there's definitely been times with me and Ash that maybe he's kind of lost a little bit of the buzz for it, and I've pulled him up. And then there's been other times where I feel like I'm going through the motions a little bit, and then he's kind of given me a little injection of enthusiasm. And that is the nice thing about when there's two. Same with you and Jace, you can help each other. I can see James is in the chat, who ironically brings both me and Ash down. So that's a different story. But with you,
hello James.
You've probably in Ray, you found probably the one person that would make me want to stream on my own rather than have a guest. So congratulations for that. The man who's retired from FPL and now does more than he's ever done before. What is going?
He's doing.
I'm giving it up this year, guys. I'm going to be streaming 8 times a week about FPL. If you want to catch me,
and Patreon sometimes.
Not playing, no. Not playing. I don't want to spend any time. I've got so much. I'm so busy now. I can't possibly play the game. But I'll be on your screens 24 hours a day, like Big Brother, talking about FPL. What is it?
Cheers for the $4.99 though a month, Ray. That's the main thing. I want to quickly actually divulge into a conversation that we kind of touched upon as you were talking a minute ago about something regarding the word expert. And you guys brought up a subject matter on your show 2 weeks ago regarding something that FPL Mate brought up. And it's something which I find really interesting to discuss, the term expert, and how the audience that watches live or consumes on the replay / consumes the video sees certain individuals, certain people as experts. What is your take on the term? Because I think I'm sure it was Az on Black Box that summarised it brilliant, which is that no, it wasn't. It was Clayton on the show with James and Planet FPL, and they were pretty much going through the definition of the word expert. And to paraphrase, it's somebody who is understanding of a subject matter and can educationally speak to someone with some high form of knowledge regarding that subject matter, and they would be classified as an expert. But in the world of FPL, most people, not all, but most, are just regular guys like me and you, and some of them have hit the ball and hit out for 6. And there are some like us which are just playing the game. Yeah, what do you think about FPL content creators being branded as experts?
I think you can be an expert, but that doesn't necessarily. See, the thing what people struggle to grasp on Twitter, especially, and like to get vocal, is that if you're attacking content creators, first of all, it depends how they market themselves. If they're saying to you, like a famous website does, if you don't finish top of your league, you'll get your money back, and all of this, that is your prime. You've marketed yourself as, I'm going to improve your performance. What most, and I would say the vast majority of shows and podcasts do, is they don't tell you they're going to win the game for you. What they're saying is, we're going to provide entertainment, and we're going to talk about FPL, and you can take the information and dissect it yourself and make an educated decision. And that is what, as far as I'm concerned, I don't watch loads and loads of FPL content, but as far as I'm concerned, that is how most of it seems to me. No one's kind of marketing themselves as an expert. People will get called an expert because Sky Sports or Fantasy Football Scout or whoever want to have, it's just a term to use, right? Experts, pro pundits, all of that sort of stuff. The other thing is, so most of the time people aren't making themselves, they're not claiming to be experts. The other thing is, when they are talking about, this guy's an expert, it doesn't necessarily mean, it doesn't go hand in hand with being the very best at the game. Because you're an expert doesn't mean you're going to win the game, right? Because yes, there is an element of luck, but also you could be an expert boxing coach, right? You might know and have tricks and techniques and ideas about how people can improve. The best boxing coach has never been a world champion. Freddie Roach, right, as a boxing coach, incredible. He wasn't beating up Mike Tyson 30 years ago. Like, you can be qualified and entertained to talk about a subject matter. Doesn't mean you have to be the best yourself. And I just think it's easy to jump on content creators. It's easy to do it. But if people are putting themselves up there to say, I'm the best at this game, I'm going to win, by all means, when they don't, have a go at them. But if they're just trying to have a bit of a chat about a game they enjoy and they're not doing very well at it, it's just a cheap shot. Like, have a go at anyone. Go onto your league and pick on the person below you and find their on Twitter and just start giving them abuse. You wouldn't do it, would you?
No, this is exactly it. And I do find it interesting whenever I'm listening into Juice and when topics like this arise with, ironically, the people that are being branded experts. Let's not beat about the bush here. Ironically, this came up at a time when you had Harry on the show. Do you and Ash ever I mean, I know how it works, but do you and Ash ever kind of like discuss behind the scenes and say, do we really want to be talking about this subject matter with someone like Harry on the show? Not because Harry is going to be offended or anything, but really these kind of subject matters are kind of technically aimed at him, not in a horrible way, but do you feel awkward at all bringing these topics of conversation up in the studio when you're going live?
I don't purely, well, I don't, Ash doesn't either. Okay. We don't, because we like, as I kind of alluded to with Praz earlier, we like to see a different side of people to what they're able to, well, either because A, they don't want to, or B, it's just not the right environment for them to do on their own platforms. So, for example, Harry's a perfect example. The other week he was on and we got into a discussion about people having a go at content creators for this sort of thing. And Harry is obviously one of those who's extreme. Like, I think he's on a 5-year average. Is he like third or something?
I think on a 3-year number one.
He's right up there. He's right up there. So he is one of the people, if you want to have a go at anyone, he is one of the people you would struggle to say is not an expert. You'd have to argue a case against that. Mm-hmm. But he still doesn't brand himself an expert. You know, he's very, very humble about it. If you ever talk to him about it. But I think having him on, and he didn't want to talk about it. Yeah, you could see when we were asking questions about people who have a go, and this was the same week that someone was in his YouTube comment saying, "Oh, this guy's so boring. I feel sorry for his girlfriend. This, that, and the other." And it's like, what right has someone got? What right has someone got to say that? He's doing better, not just at FPL, but I guarantee you he's doing better in life than this person who's writing that with a faceless, YouTube name, like random name and 50 numbers after the thing username. But I think Harry's a bit, and this will sound really patronised. It's not meant to be, but I think with age, he's a young guy, right? He's 26, I think he is.
Yeah, he's in his mid to late 20s. Yeah,
he's like us. He's in his 30s. Yeah, so he's a young guy. But obviously, we're at an age now. I don't care. Like, no one could do anything to upset me that I don't value their opinion. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an arsehole. I would hate to upset any of my friends or any of my friends or people I care about to think badly of me. But if I don't know you and you don't know me, how can your opinion of me hold any water? And I think that is the problem when you're probably a little bit younger. You want to please everyone. And that is one of the blessings of age, is that you realize you can't please everyone. And it's not important to please everyone, because people are going to make their mind up. A lot of the time, people are going to make their mind up about you before they've even clicked. The person who's probably saying that about Harry probably hasn't even watched that video. Do you know what I mean? Like, so don't get upset about it. But he can't be the one on our show. He can't be the one to go, yeah, this guy said this about me. He's a dickhead. I don't care. Like, he's not going to do that because that's not in his personality. And also his image is slightly different, right? He has to be professional. He's got a brand image to protect, which is squeaky clean. And he's a nice guy. Whereas we don't have that, that image. Not that we don't want to be nice guys, but we're not going to tolerate it. Whereas Harry, I think, is a little bit more, clean, I guess. Clean.
Nick, you're normally good with words here, and you were struggling there. Good evening, Colm. What's that word, Nick, again? Help me out.
Brachiosaurus.
Adam's saying this is better to listen to than Sam Matterface. Well, yeah, anything's better than Sam Matterface.
Is that an insult or a
Lee Dixon? God almighty, absolutely dire. Here we go here. Colm saying that the podcast where Stevo's driving are my favourites, guessing when Stevo's going to stop the story and shout at another driver for doing something stupid. It happened to Nick on a voice message I sent him. I'm just literally responding to something Nick is saying, and all of a sudden this complete idiot decided to pull out. I can't remember now what he did, or she, could be a woman, So I had to pull out in front of me and just, yeah, you get the idea with that. You don't know is pathetic. David Hamil saying abusing people that you don't know is just pathetic. Lewis Benali saying yellow. Where will they say here? There was one quick question. Here we are.
Lewis Vanilla.
Lewis Vanilla saying experts said to me not to go for Manil, and I did anyways. Look at him cooking, and I think this is something that you, I, and a lot of others kind of are trying to push. Really, is that we are trying to allow people into our world where we're having a rivalry with our other mate. So you have your rivalry with Ash, I have my rivalry with Jason, and then people can kind of relate with it. And I'd like to think that when other people do listen into our shows, they are listening because they're getting genuine football advice and kind of a knowledge from an individual who knows what they're talking about regarding football, and maybe that person listening in will go, "You know what? Nick's got a point there. He watches Arsenal on a regular basis and notices this particular thing going on here. Maybe he is right not to go with double Arsenal defence." In fact, Nima was the prime example of this, of somebody who said, "I think the best form of attack is actually triple Arsenal attack." Look where that got him. You know, I mean, admittedly, I don't think he did it in the end. I think he went one defender and two attackers. I think he did. Is that what he did, Nima, in the end?
Yeah, he's the same as me. Yeah.
Yeah, and he pretty much said, look, at the end of the day, I see us being better from an attacking point of view for now, rather than going defensively, and he's reaping the rewards. And then he was talking about Martinelli, of course, and how he thinks in the very, very near future Martinelli could potentially be the player that we're all looking at from Arsenal. Although, as it stands right now, their fixtures aren't particularly great, are they, Nick? They've got this Bournemouth away, which isn't that appealing, and then all of a sudden it's straight over to the tough fixtures in the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea and so on and so forth. And do you think now, for most people that are potentially wildcarding right this second, what would you say to these people that are looking at potentially bringing in triple Arsenal? Would you say don't even bother? Would you say bring in one? What would you advise?
No, I would actually keep triple Arsenal. And again, this is not an expert telling me to do this, but I think, let's be real, the last 2 years, there's only been two teams in the title race, right? You've had Man City and you've had Arsenal. Now, Arsenal's points generally are quite spread out and shared around. If we could predict Man City's points returns a bit more accurately, rather than them all coming from one player, and also you've only got 3 players that you're pretty much guaranteed that are going to start each week, then I think we'd all have triple Man City. But we don't, because of that reason. Whereas with Arsenal, the points are shared around, but give or take, the starting 11 each week, and they're going to be up there. And the reason they're up there is because they beat most teams, whether they're hard opposition, whether they're medium opposition, whether they're a walk in the park, they're still going to score goals against them. So I would stick with, and if anything, Arsenal this season have looked better against the better teams. Like the ones where they've struggled in, the 2 easiest games are the last 2, Leicester and Southampton, both at home, which you would expected them to absolutely batter the teams, and they've given away easy goals and then scored late goals to win and made it look a bit more comfortable than it was. Whereas early in the season, someone like Aston Villa, and you're thinking, that's going to be tough going away to Aston Villa, and they come away with a 2-goal win. So I would say don't waste transfers getting off triple Arsenal, because you're only going to want them again in a couple of weeks.
Do you put it down to a psychology thing where a team like Arsenal go, let's only put in 60% of our effort against someone like Southampton, because even 60% of our effort is going to beat Southampton, and that means then that Southampton may pick up on the mistakes through that sign of psychology and then eventually end up scoring. They still lose, because even me coming away from Leicester and Southampton with 0 defensive clean sheet returns is shocking. Let's not mess about.
Yeah,
not even one.
I don't think that I don't think that it was that, because they weren't giving up lots of chances. They just kind of hit on the break. So I don't know. It certainly wasn't a lack of effort, because it wasn't like it was an even game. They were dominating both Leicester and Southampton, and they conceded on the break. So I don't know. You could argue that there's maybe a slight lapse of concentration. The player that got dispossessed and gave up for the goal that Southampton scored on Saturday or Sunday, Saturday, was Raheem Sterling. Now, if anyone should be given 100% in that game, it's Raheem Sterling, because he's not started for them in the Premier League. This was his big chance. This is his audition to cement a place in the team, and he was the one that was too easily knocked off the ball, and ended up conceding from that. So I don't think it's, like I say, if it was a bit more end to end, then I'd say, yeah, they should be putting this team away. But it's the Premier League. You are going to concede chances, and unfortunately, and all the goals that were scored. You look at James Justin's goal against, it was absolutely like wonder strike, wasn't it? You're not, like, 9 times out of 10, that's not even on target, let alone nestling in the corner. It was the same as Southampton goal, like curled it right into the bottom corner, got a little deflection and went right into, like, what can you do? Sometimes you are going to concede. Every team's good in the Premier League, and you can't win every game, and it's going to be tough. But yeah, I take your point on the effort thing, but I think it was more just a slight lapse of concentration and giving away the odd break rather than a sustained lackluster performance.
Yeah, Roberto's saying here, people will bench Arsenal defenders in these fixtures. That's insanity to me. These are the sorts of games that they get clean sheets, pretty much backing up what you're saying. Good evening, Podner. Podner saying 3 Arsenal is asking for a bottled FPL game week. Just go only with 2. Good evening, Harry Dawson. Good evening, A. Dawson. Good evening, Animations. All the A's. Just all the A's at the moment. Matt Smith. Hello, mate. He's saying here, hello from a Juice/Elite FPL member based in California. Great listening to 2 comedians. There's no straight man, so there's no dead wood. So,
Yeah.
Let's crack on with looking at your team, actually, Nick, because this is what people are here to talk about. It's FPL. Yeah, is it? It is indeed. This is exactly what people are here to see, Nick. Your team. And
okay.
You've got this extraordinary strategy of. You've said it. You said you don't want to go with Haaland because it's the only way you're going to catch up points. Now, for anybody that doesn't watch Juice or knows this point of view, do you want to just explain to the audience what the hell you mean by not owning Haaland and meaning that you should be able to catch up on points with Haaland owners?
Sure. So my point is, I haven't owned Haaland this far, which we can all agree was a mistake. So let's first of all put that out there. I'm not saying that the better teams have not got Haaland. Without shadow of doubt, I would have done better if I'd had Haaland from the start, but I haven't. So now I'm in a position where I'm behind all the Haaland owners, especially Ash, who's my main rival. I'm not going to win the game this year. I want to beat Ash, okay? Ash owns Haaland and will captain him every single week this season. I don't own Haaland. If I bring him in, that's one less player as a differential I'm going to have on all the Haaland owners. And I'll be completely frank, I owned Haaland all of last year, right? He scored goals, great, fine, captaincy, returns, all the rest of it. But with Haaland, it's not a case of, if you don't captain him, he scores and you get a red arrow. He does well and you get a red arrow. It's not fun. It's not exciting to me. So with my team, I've got money still to spend. I can have like a Salah, Saka, Palmer sort of midfield. and just hope that they overperform as the season goes on. And that is the way I feel like I'm going to catch up, rather than just creeping up. And I want the swings as well. I don't want to take, like, I don't know, like incremental 4 points a week and just about catch up by week 37. I would rather get that really, really enjoyable 40-point swing when Haaland blanks and I've captained Saka, like that happened this week when I've captained Saka and he got 32 points or whatever, and Haaland's got 4 for the captainers. That's a big swing. And I accept that, yes, Haaland is he's not going to blank every week, but even if he scores 1 goal, I'm happy. Like, if he scores 1 goal a week, and I said this on the show on Tuesday, the amount of goals he's already on, if he scores 1 per week, he's already going to break the record, and he's going to be 40. He's going to score 40 goals by the end of the season if he carries on going the way he is, and just scores 1 a week from now on in. That's great, but he's so much money. You can do other things with the funds. But I'm not saying it's a bad strategy to own Haaland, but that's right for my game because I'm so far behind. That's all I'm saying.
So your team, for anybody listening on audio, we've got Henderson, Gabriel, Porro, Lewis, and Burmo, Saka, Salah, Bowen, Diaz, Watkins, Havertz, and then on the bench, a non-playing goalkeeper in Turner, Robinson of Fulham, Harwood Bellis, and some striker for Wolves who I've never heard of called Chiwari, or whatever his name is. But
Chiwomi. Oh, what a player, mate. What a player.
Yeah. How much money have you got in the bank?
Oh, don't you know? He's. I've got 500,000. I've got 500,000.
Damn.
So at the minute.
And how many transfers?
My thoughts. 2 free transfers at the moment. So my plans long term, I'll probably get Palmer in for Salah.
Mm-hmm.
But Salah's next game is at home to Chelsea.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that perhaps isn't quite, and obviously Chelsea's next couple aren't the best. So give it a couple of weeks and that'll be a swap. Luis Diaz, again, like the risk of him being rotated is not ideal. So I probably will change him, but I think the next game he will start. Like, for sure. He didn't start because of the Champions League, because he started in that, and that was a more important game for Liverpool. Gakpo's been doing really well as well, so there's going to be more rotation than perhaps he got last season. But Luis Diaz still top player. He's like the 4th highest scoring midfielder, right? So it's not a problem to have him. But I will probably, when I do the Palmer move, and who knows, by that point, Son could have hit great form. And then I can get Palmer and Son in for, or I can get Foden. You know, Foden starts doing well for Man City. Man City have got lovely fixtures. I haven't got Haaland, so maybe I can cover an element with Foden if Foden's playing well. And I can do Palmer and Foden in for Salah and Diaz or whatever. There's loads of options. So I haven't decided, but I do feel like for this team as it is at the minute, I'm not going to make any changes before because, yeah, I can see... is it Aiden there to put Luis Diaz hauls against Chelsea just a hunch? Could easily happen. And how FPL would that be? Because everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people sold him last week when they got that benching leak. So yeah, I think I'll go with this. I'm not too worried about making too many transfers before the next game week. I'll probably get at least 3 transfers. And then, unless I've got injuries, which I don't know about yet, then I'm quite happy with it at the minute.
I was about to be a patronising arsehole then and say I have a problem with this. The biggest concern I have with this team is that you've got so many options to swap in and out, that unlike with people like myself who have Haaland, it's... quite difficult to just, like you've just said, I'll just bring in Palmer for this player once his fixtures change, and I'll just bring in whoever for this player. My immediate eyes went straight to Diaz and went, get him out for Johnson of Spurs, whose fixtures are really nice at the moment. He's in form. West Ham, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Ipswich. Those next 4 are very, very nice for Tottenham. Johnson in form at the moment. He's 6.6 at a guess, maybe 6.5. Liverpool's fixtures, Chelsea at home again. He could do quite well. Then it's Arsenal away, Brighton, Hove Albion at home, Aston Villa at home, Southampton away. You're in this position, Nick, where it's so difficult for you to say bye-bye to certain players, because you can, barring Haaland, you're pretty much having any player you want, and it's almost to a point where you must be finding it almost tearing your hair out, wondering which player do I get rid of, because each week they seem to have a really, really good fixture.
It is tough, but that's much more fun playing the game that way, right? To try and jump on the right players. Like, for example, depends what you want. Do you enjoy FPL? Do you only enjoy FPL if you are doing well? And I'd argue for a lot of the FPL community that is a yes.
Yeah.
Right. I still enjoy the game. Like, out of my team last week, right, where I can't remember, 76 points, something like that. What return out of the because that was exactly my team last week. Out of that team, what return do you think I got the most enjoyment out of?
Bowen.
Jarrod Bowen.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Because he's exactly. He's a player which is very lowly owned. People don't expect much from him, despite the fact, as you keep making this point, and it's true, every season he's getting double-digit returns in goals and assists. He's the forefront of West Ham. They've got decent-ish fixtures. In fact, he's one of the players that I would say is almost, while he's in form, a season keeper. Tottenham, Man U, Nottingham Forest, Everton, the next 4. I would say of those 4, Nottingham Forest is the hardest fixture. West Ham are going to score against Tottenham, they're going to score against Man United, they're going to score against Everton. The next 4, Nottingham Forest is the hardest. So you ain't going to move Jarrod Bowen. Just categorical fact. Whereas these other players that you've got in, specifically Diaz, it unfortunately is this rotation type risk, and when it comes to Saturday for the deadline, and potentially, I mean, it's unlikely because I believe Liverpool are playing on the Sunday. I think they are. Yeah, they're playing on the Sunday, so the likelihood of you getting a leak regarding Diaz starting or not is going to be highly unlikely. But if you were to find out that Diaz wasn't playing, at that point, I think it may force your hand into potentially selling and bringing in Johnson. Potentially. But other than that...
excuse me, I wouldn't keep him if I knew he was going to be not starting the next game. But I'm confident he will. He's the first choice left winger for Liverpool.
Yeah.
The only thing that stops him playing is keeping him fresh when they've got fixture congestion. Otherwise, I believe he starts every game. As well as Gakpo's done in the Euros and the start of this season, he's not displacing Luis Diaz. He's been probably their best player this year from the games I've watched. He looks so dangerous. Jota as well. He looks so dangerous. Ironically, Salah is the one who looks a bit off it, but he still returns because he's Salah.
Question for Nick here from SK. Have you ever played FPL seriously?
I suppose define seriously. Like, I play it to try and do well. Don't get me wrong. When I'm saying, like, I don't want to bring in Haaland, it's not. I'm not doing it because, that'll be a bit edgy. I won't do that. I'm doing it because I think that's the best play for my team now. As I said, it was a mistake not to go with him from the start of the season, but I can't do anything about that now. I can't rewind time and start again with Haaland, and we're all on a level playing field on 0 points. It's too late for that. I'm already behind. So how can I catch up quickly? I've got to take a punt. It's a bit like if you're at the casino, right? Oh, we can't talk about gambling, can we? But if you're at a casino,
I can.
if you're at a casino and you're down 50 quid, right? Do you want to put on £1 bets, red or black? Or do you just go, do you know what? I've got £1 left. Stick it on number 23. Let's see what happens. Like, or do you want to be slowly, like death by 1,000 cuts? Do you know what I mean? Do you just gradually want to stay where you are? Oh, if I get Haaland in, then I can, I can kind of claw back a little bit of ground each week. And if I'm really lucky, I might finish in the top 500,000. Who cares? If you're not winning, who cares? It's death or glory. Either try and finish as high as you can by doing something different and having fun, or accept your fate and just plod along to a 500k, post it at the end of game week 38, come back stronger next year, we move. Callum Hudson-Odoi's looking good in pre-season. No one cares, right? Just play the game how you want to play it. And if it all goes wrong, it's just the game. But as I say, it comes back to that question. Do you only enjoy FPL when you're doing well? Because I don't. I enjoy playing it all the time. Whether it's going well or whether it's going badly, I'll still be on the show with Ash, taking the piss out of him and having a laugh about the game and laughing at myself if it goes badly. But don't think I don't play it to try and do well, because I do, despite my rank.
Yeah, I think that, let's get real here. Last season, it was a huge swing in points between you and Ash. It was something like 200 points, wasn't it, at some stage of the season?
Yeah. He keeps denying it. He was 200 points clear, and I came back and flew past him. But the robot was not functioning correctly last year, whereas this year he is. There was a question a bit further up. I saw it pop up. Where are we? Buffy. How many weeks will you go without Haaland if he returns 2 every week? First of all, he won't, because he can't. But if he got 2 goals a week, where are we now? So game week 8, right? So we've got 30 games. So if he scores 60 goals between now and the end of the season, that's what you're asking. Is he going to score 60 goals between now and the end of the season on top of the 10 that he's already scored? He's not, is he? But that is that shows you the levels that he's going to have to be at to justify the 15 point whatever that he now is. Because you're thinking, what if he gets 2 every week? Well, he's even getting 1 a week. Oh my God, Greece have just scored. Even if he gets 1 a week, as I say, he's going to end up on 40 goals, which would be the best, Premier League season in memory. So we'll see. I'm willing to take that risk, but it's all about, as everything is with FPL, it's who you're going to buy instead. If I buy 2 players with the funds of someone who's got Morgan, Rogers, and Haaland for 20 mil, if I get Foden and Son and they both do incredible, or Foden and Palmer, or Son and Palmer, if I pick the 2 right players to cover that and they both go off, then happy days. If I pick 2 players that flop, then it's not going to be great.
Just want to say there's a lot of people watching right now. Please make sure if you are brand new around here, hit the subscribe button. Myself and Jason and a guest are doing this season quite regular streams around topics like this and whatnot. So we always do our Wednesday night preview, we do the Saturday night reaction, and we do the Sunday surgery. And whenever I can be bothered, want to do a bonus stream like I'm doing tonight with Nick, you can join in along with the fun and whatnot. So yeah, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit that like button. Question for you, Nick, is how many places did you rise in the rankings after this game week with the Saka captaincy and no Haaland?
Just like 1.5 million.
Yeah. So where are you now?
Like a lot. Well, I'm at the dizzy heights of 3.5 million, something like that.
So let's not mess about here.
I need a few more of those, put it that way.
Well, this is what I was going to say. You are relying on Haaland to be continuously blanking. Now, the likelihood of that happening is zero. I do think that you've been any non-Haaland owners, i.e. same as James from Planet FPL, who's been doing very well, and you did joke last night that he's just picked the better players. But the truth of the matter is that over the last couple of weeks, you guys that have not got Haaland have been very fortunate. If Haaland had scored just one goal in both the games that he blanked in, you're looking at a horrible red arrow, continuous red arrow. Even for me this week, if Haaland had just scored, I would have been topping most of the mini leagues. So, for instance, the one mini league that I personally take seriously is the Moderator League, and the guy that's top by just a few points ahead of me and FireTog, who I have a lot of respect for when it comes to his game. If Haaland scores this week, I'm top by just a couple of points. And FireTog is somebody who hasn't gone with Haaland for the last few game weeks and has done very well. I'm somebody that's gone without Haaland for the last few game weeks, but I've brought him back in. Like I say, I'm gutted he didn't get anything against whoever they played this weekend, who I've completely forgotten. Fulham.
Mhm.
I've got him in ahead of the Wolves and Southampton game, where I'd like to think he's going to get at least a minimum of a goal per game. I mean, it would be some form of fucked up, mischievous witchcraft if he doesn't score at least one in each of those two games upcoming. And then after that, for me, it's just a case of, specifically with their upcoming fixtures, and depending on the De Bruyne situation, who, is it coincidence that since he's been out, Haaland hasn't been returning? Possibly. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly with Man City's upcoming fixtures, in after Wolves and Southampton, they got Bournemouth, Brighton, Tottenham, the next three after that in game weeks 10, 11 and 12. For me, you've already mentioned that guy. It's definitely Phil Foden to come in as a potential triple up for me. Phil Foden, we all know, like you said about Jared Bowen, like we know about Cole Palmer, Saka, etc. He is somebody that will consistently be bringing in double-digit hauls for assists and goals every single season when he starts. And the Wolves game is going to be the game which is suggesting to me, right, he started that fixture, he's looking key to what Pep Guardiola's wanting to do now. He's going to start performing like he did last season. At this point for me, Foden could be, like for you, the next player to potentially, in your case, not necessarily cover Haaland, but certainly be that player from Man City that can be there bringing in the double points for yourself.
Yeah, again, this is another reason. Interestingly, you say if Haaland hadn't blanked for 15 odd million, would you say that 6 points, let's say he doesn't get the bonus, right? Let's just say he scores a goal, but other players also do well in that Man City game. If he just scores one goal, gets 6 points, captain to 12, is that enough of a return for 15.4 million? Because if one of my midfielders scores, happens to get, first of all, he's getting more points per goal anyway. So whether I pick Palmer, whether I pick Foden, if I've got him, if Saka, Salah, whoever it might be, they might get a clean sheet. Do you know what I mean? You can see it as there's a way that Haaland can still score a goal as long as he doesn't go off like he has been with hat-tricks every week. If he just gets one goal, there's still a way you can catch up.
There is, but I'm just using my team as the example here of if, and based on what you've just said, Haaland scores that goal. For someone in my personal position, it means I get a green arrow in my personal circumstances. So I go from, 350k, whatever it was, to maybe 300k. I'm not talking hundreds of thousands of places, but Haaland scores that one goal, I move up by potentially 50,000 places. And it means at that point, I then go possibly, and this is against the non-Haaland owners here, I then go on top of certain mini leagues, and for me, it gives me that psychological edge over certain people where it's like, oh God, Steve-O may not have the greatest team, but because he's got Haaland and he's captained him, and certain other players, like you just mentioned, have gone off within Steve-O's team, he's actually gone to the top of the league and is now X amount of points ahead of me, and I haven't got Haaland, and he's got Wolves and Southampton next. Shit. I need to bring this Haaland, but like you say, he's 15.4 million. Now, don't get me wrong, I do agree with you for a player that's 15 million, let's just say 15 million. You are needing this player to be, who was at the start of the season, getting a minimum of 10 points per match, I would say, give or take 10 points per match, which is what, a goal a game. The thing is that this, and is proven now, isn't sustainable. And I do agree that people like yourself that are saving the money with not having Haaland and can pump it into a team in which has got some of the biggest heavy hitters within the game itself, it can work. But I think there's sometimes moments to choose your battles. And here's the irony, Nick, is that right now it's almost like your team is actually built perfectly to be a non-Haaland team if you had Haaland in the previous 6 game weeks. The problem is, like you stated, you're playing so much catch-up that you're million. I mean, how many points are you behind Ash at the moment? It's 81, wasn't it?
It's 80 points, I think. Yeah. Right.
So you're 80 points behind Ash. Now, I would argue that your team is better than Ash's. He's got Haaland, you don't. But like you joked with him last night, his bench is just shocking, and he's just relying on his 11 players to perform every single week. Well,
not even his 11. He's relying on 6. He's only got 6 players, but he's just got quite lucky recently. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to get a Vout-face 6-pointer every week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's got 2 4 million players in his starting 11.
Yeah.
This is what I'm dealing with, Steve.
And no. This is the thing. Whenever I listen into the show, I always think to myself, like, I know the pair of you like to wind each other up like me and Jason do, but I think that Ash doesn't realise that you are potentially going to catch up those 80 points quite quickly with the fact that you've got this stacked front 7. Let's remind the audience of who you've got again. You've got Mbeumo, Saka, Salah, Bowen. You've got Diaz, who can potentially become Johnson, or potentially, if we find money somewhere else, a Foden. You've then got Watkins and Havertz.
And Wood as well.
That and Didcot. So you've got Yateley. You've got in fact, I loved your argument last night. I thought it was brilliant when you were speaking to Praz about the top scoring midfielders this year so far, and you were saying about their points returns and whatnot. If I bring it up for me here, which of course everything is decided to slow down, thanks a bunch. So the top scoring midfielders that you've got is in your team apart from Palmer, and then you made this point about, well, look at Kovacic. Kovacic is 10th or 9th in this list, and it's all based on virtually the one double-digit return he got this week in 15 points. He got an 11-pointer against Chelsea in game week 1. Fair enough. Since then, 1 point, 1 point, 1.0, 1.15. Oh, sorry, he got a 6-pointer. My apologies, he got a 6-pointer. I was actually reading the wrong thing there. He's got a 1, a 2, a 0, a 6, a 1. And like you said, no one in their right mind is going to be looking at Kovacic in their teams. They're literally going to be looking at the big boys plus A McNeil, a Johnson. You've already got one of those in Bowen, who I would argue is actually up there with the likes of Palmer, Salah, Saka, etc. once Bowen starts kicking into gear. And this is why, I mean, we can all have a laugh about how serious we take this game or not, but I genuinely think, I was going to call you Ash then, I genuinely think, Nick, that you catching Ash actually is more realistic than what Ash is probably thinking. Like, Ash can all laugh about it, but I can potentially see by game week 12, you could overtake him. It's 80 points, and if you nail the captaincy.
Yeah, that's key. I realistically, I don't think it's going to be as quick as game week 12, but for sure, Ash is, he thinks he's home and dry right now. He thinks the season's over, right? I'm guaranteeing you that's what he thinks. He's so cocky. But my thing is, like, everyone's saying to me, going without Haaland is a risk. I feel like, if anything, I'm the one hedging my bets, right? Because I've not got 15 million wrapped up. I can have a player like Watkins this weekend. He blanks. But I'm like, I got him for 8.9 million. If he blanks, he blanks. Because for 8.9 million, I can afford for him to blank. Because guess what? Havertz scored. Mbermo scored. Bowen scored. Saka scored. Salah, got 3 points. But the point is that I've got other players that can return. So a blank from a 7, 8, 9 million pound player is not painful. A blank from a 15 million pound player, you can't afford that, really. If that is your strategy, you cannot afford for him to blank. But obviously, he doesn't blank often because that's why he's that money, right? But it's still a game of chance. Anything can happen. Last 2 weeks, we've seen it.
You've hit the nail on the head. I mean, Line Pedersen saying Haaland's got 2 goals and assists for animations for Norway. I'm assuming that's tonight. I don't have a clue. Ray saying he's gonna listen on the replay tomorrow. Once you hear Nick slagging you off,
big fan of yours, Ray. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Sorry, I assume he's not been able to join the stream. He's probably doing a lot of analytic works, looking at FPL players for the game he's not playing. But glad he could join us. Thanks, Ray.
Apparently Saka has gone off injured tonight. Now I agree with Ray here.
Saw that.
He's fine.
Yeah.
This whole Saka every 70, 80 minutes or whatever, it is getting a bit frustrating seeing a player of his quality every single match just going down, not necessarily feigning injury, but does it frustrate you, Nick, seeing a player of that quality just always on the 78th minute going down?
Well, he gets kicked a lot, but listen, he was getting kicked a lot on Saturday, and then in the whatever it was, 90th minute, 95th, 96th minute, he was still on the pitch and scored a goal. So obviously you don't want to see your players going off injured, but he is likely to get kicked a lot because that's his game, isn't it? Low center of gravity, twists and turns. He's quicker than pretty much everyone on the pitch. They are going to catch him because after a while they run out of ideas of how to stop him. But that is what makes him such a good player.
Colm saying here, just pretty much agreeing with me regarding your team and your rivalry with Ash. The captaincy is key. You have several picks to choose from. Ash only has Haaland. And truth be told, we look at your team here. I personally think, and I apologise who it was, but someone made a point about, of all your players here, probably captain and Salah is probably your best option. I actually agree with that, Nick. I think Salah at home to Chelsea is a better fixture than Saka away at Bournemouth. The other option,
that captaincy's just left over from last week. I hadn't, to be honest, given it any thought. for next week. But I was drawn towards Salah, but by no means decided. It's tough, isn't it? That is a bit more of a 50-50 call. Like Saka at home to Southampton was quite an easy decision, albeit that Salah was playing Crystal Palace, but it was away. I just felt like Saka was going to do something in that game, whereas this one's much more of a tight call, I think.
Scotland Investor was making a point he finds it very difficult to roll a transfer because he can always find an issue within his team. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that for you, going into Gameweek 8, your team's fine, as we've already mentioned. Potentially, if we hear the news that Diaz isn't going to be starting, I think, honestly, Diaz to Johnson, done. Get that out of the way. Other than that, I think your team, like we've discussed, your team's set up beautifully, and each week you could be in theory going into every single game week with with 2 free transfers. And you, like, again, we keep going back to it. You have that luxury of being able to not have to worry about the fact that your money's tied up in Haaland. So you can just, like you say, swap out X player and bring in the players that have got the best upcoming fixtures from your personal point of view. Even like you said, you don't need to bring in Palmer yet. Liverpool, Newcastle, Man United, Arsenal. People that own him, keep him, fine, well done to you. But for you, are you really going to take out Salah in this case for Palmer? No.
Not this week, no.
No, that would just be...
Because, sod's law, what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, we do know what's going to happen. Yeah, exactly. Sod's law would suggest that it would end up with Salah getting this double-digit return and Palmer does nothing. You're completely correct, and that's why, for me, this season, I'm making these logical decisions rather than these knee-jerk reactions. So, for instance, in your case, in theory, Diaz will start against Chelsea. I would probably put an 85% chance Diaz starts against Chelsea. For the following week, Arsenal away, I'll be honest with you, Ray, you could easily, with your 3, because at this point in game week 9 you'll have 3 free transfers. You could do Salah out for Foden for Southampton at home, and if I was you, this is just from my point of view, I would captain Foden. I'd just stick the captaincy on Foden. If you kind of get the news that Foden's guaranteed to start against Southampton, I think that it's a worthy point, because you've got Liverpool at home for Saka. You're not. Are you going to captain Mbeumo against Ipswich? Probably not. It's just good enough. Well, maybe, but you wouldn't. I know you wouldn't. You've then got, again, if you had Foden at home to Southampton. Aston Villa are at home to Bournemouth. Would you captain Watkins? I don't know. So really, your best option would be if you were to bring in Foden to do that switch, because you're not going to have Haaland. Foden could be your best bet versus Southampton if we knew what was going on, because of the tougher fixtures that the likes of Salah, Saka have. So, like I say, I think you're in a luxury position, to be honest with you, and I think, like you say, you may not take over Ash over the next 4 or 5 games when it comes to Game Week 12, but I bet you my left leg, or my right dollar, whatever the bloody saying. What is the saying, Nick? I mean,
I don't know. My last dollar.
Ask the chat.
I've heard this phrase.
it's
my left testicle.
I reckon by Game Week 12, you'll have closed that gap to about 30, potentially 30 points.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'd certainly like to shrink the buffer a little bit.
I was going to say just quickly, the only downside to everything is that Ash has got his wild card. That's the downside. Then he could put in a bit of a curveball and then decide, do you know what? I'm going to copy Nick, and I'm not going to go Haaland either, and just basically block you off.
He could do that, but then he'd spend 2 hours every Tuesday night being absolutely abused. So, mind you, he does anyway. So that's a different story.
Colm just quickly
So
saying
you'd never hear the end of it.
Colm quickly just saying here, fixture-wise, Game Week 12 is when you could go Salah to Palmer. Another simple question for you, Nick. This season so far, we're only up to Game Week 8. Are you actually enjoying the season so far? Because for me, you asked the question about people that play FPL, they only enjoy it when they're doing well. I'm not going to lie, I'm enjoying doing more content because not only am I with a guest, but me and Jason are streaming a lot more together. But I'm not going to lie, because I'm doing okay at the game, it is making it a bit more manageable. What about you? Are you actually enjoying the season so far? Or are you just like...
Yeah. No, listen, I'm enjoying it. If I was ranked in the top 1K, I'd be enjoying it more. Not going to lie about that for a start. Like, goes without saying, but I'm not enjoying it because I'm not doing so great. Having said that, I just think, for me, I play it's an enjoyable game. It's fun. My favourite time of the year is just before the season starts normally, because that's when you're picking up, you've got the option of all the players and you're looking at all the things, and then probably wild card is my next, because the only thing you can do other than captain, the only thing you can really do with your team is transfers, right? The transfers is the fun part of the game for me. That's what all of the discussions when you're in a pub with your mates and you're talking about what players you might bring in or take out, that's the fun. So and yeah, it's not been the best start to the season, but no, I am enjoying it. And I think like last week was my first green arrow of the whole season. Do you know what I mean? So that has taken a little while to get there, but I enjoyed the fact that right now we've kind of got a position to work from, and hopefully we can build on that.
I've just put up a poll which I gave to the Patreons to answer, and I'm going to ask you, Nick, and I'm asking our audience. So the poll is up. I'm seriously tempted to use my free transfer to take out Calvert-Lewin and bring in Delap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a couple of reasons why. In my opinion, I think that Ipswich have got better short-term fixtures than DCL. More importantly, Nick, Delap is looking likely, I'm going to check now, but he's looking likely to be going up by 0.1 again. Now, this 0.1, if he goes up by 0.1 and I decide not to do the move, it means then that whenever I do decide to potentially do the move, I've then only got 0.2 spare. Yeah, so it looking like Saka and maybe Johnson tonight could be going up. Delap may be saved. At 0.3...
going up?
It's looking like he could be going up. Yeah, Saka could be going up in price. So, and I think FPL Statistics is probably the best site. Diaz and Salah could be going down tonight. They're the most likely two, according to FPL Statistics, which I think is the most reliable of all the sites I've ever used. But Saka and Johnson, looking likely they could be going up tonight. Now, with Delap for me, Everton at home, Brentford, Leicester. And by the way, the home fixtures for Ipswich, I think, are really good for Delap to score a few more points than Calvert-Lewin, because it's the fact that Everton are away at both Ipswich and Southampton. They're at home to Fulham, which is going to be horrible. 0-0 or 1-0 Fulham, something like that. If the fixtures were reversed, where it was Ipswich and Southampton at home, I would not be selling Calvert-Lewin whatsoever. But it's the fact that Delap's going to go up in price. I'm going to get 0.2 out of it rather than 0.3. But that 0.3 down the line could come in handy, where I could, in theory, get rid of that tripe in Flecken/Verbruggen and bring in someone like Pickford over like the next, because my transfer plans are essentially, it's going to be, so in game week 9, Saka to Foden, possibly, depending on news regarding Foden, and then Dunk to 8 Newry, where Wolves' fixtures are absolutely gorgeous from game week 9, where they've got Brighton, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, and then Everton. And they're my definitive transfers that I'm looking at. But getting in the lap for Calvert-Lewin to get that money, what do you think on that?
I'd definitely do it, just because I'm always one that likes to chase price changes a little bit, because I do think it helps you much further down the line at the end of the season. It will help you. I would make that move. It's not like, listen, DCL, the time to go for him is the last couple of games, right? And a lot of people did that. A lot of people were expecting a bit more. Everton's fixtures are so good. Not that they're not turning, like they're still good for a little while. So if you held, I could understand it. But just free up that money. I think Delap looks like a better player, a better footballer, far less likely to get injured. I think, yeah, absolutely. Just make the move now. It's not like in paper, in your head, you're thinking Everton are a much bigger team than Ipswich, but actually, if you look at the league, pretty much there or thereabouts. There's no difference really. So I would do that move early. Forget about it, and then you haven't got as much money tied up. You can bring in, a better upgrade of whatever position you want further down the line as well. I think that's the right move.
Yeah, because I'm not really that. For me, Foden to Saka, or Saka to Foden, whatever, for me is a luxury move for the Southampton game. It would be, and it's the same with 8 Newry or Dunk to 8 Newry. It's a luxury move, even though I think that getting rid of Dunk for 8 Newry is actually really good. And remember, 8 Newry is only 4.4. So that means then I will have then 0.4 in the bank. So we've got FPL Onions here saying that Ipswich play Everton soon. Who would you rather have in a head-to-head? Ipswich.
Yeah.
David Hamil saying Everton have a great run of fixtures too. As I said on the Patreon, I would argue that Everton's fixtures of Ipswich away, horrific. Fulham at home, horrific. Southampton away, yeah, granted, it's okay. West Ham away, horrible. Brentford at home, horrible. Man United away, horrible. Wolves at home, nah. And then you've got Ipswich, who, with their flag in the sand and saying, we will not be relegated this year. We want to stand up and fight, like Luton last year. Everton at home, great fixture. Brentford away, good fixture. Leicester at home, good fixture. Tottenham away. Well, the way Tottenham are defending at the moment and Ipswich giving it a go, they can score. Man United at home, well, Delap, former Man City player, whatever, is going to want to stick it to the rivals.
Yeah,
Nottingham Forest away, horrific fixture. Crystal Palace at home, decent. So I would argue that Delap has, or for Ipswich, have got better fixtures than Everton, and that's why I think if I can, if I do this move for free, and 59% of you guys, 27 votes so far, 59% are saying DCL to Delap. They're saying, yeah, do it. Mm-hmm. And I've got to say that for me, like you've just mentioned, getting that money is so crucial. I know Trigger Lips keeps banging on and on about at the early part of the season, try and make your money. The money is the most important thing. Now, the good thing for me is that Calvert-Lewin is not going down in price. If anything, he's slowly creeping up. But Delap is the closest to rising, and it could happen tonight. It'd probably be happening tomorrow. So, do you think, Nick, I should do it right now?
Yeah, definitely. Like, even when you're saying to me, oh, by the way, looks like Luis Diaz and Salah are dropping, I even think, do you know what? Should I just pull the trigger and get him Foden and Palmer straight away? Because I'm so reactive to price changes. I hate the thought of losing money and losing out on players further down the line that I can't then get to. So I would definitely do that. And to be fair, it doesn't always correlate to how good your team is, but towards that last part of the season, when I've had team values of like 109 plus, that's a big difference. You got some players, some managers around you that are on 105, and you're talking about the difference of maybe having a Foden or a Morgan Rogers going into the last sort of 5-6 games of the season. It's a lot. It is a lot. So yeah, I absolutely think you should.
And this is why for
Steve, just wait a sec. I'm just going to run to the toilet quickly.
Yep, no problem. So
just leave a chat.
I don't know how to do solo. So essentially, as I mute Nick there. So essentially, for myself, Onion's saying here that he might bring in DCL for Ipswich and target Ipswich and Southampton every week. But what have Everton shown you to suggest that Ipswich are going to be torn apart by Everton? In my opinion, absolutely nothing. It's a bit of a luxury move, but it's for money from my point of view. Animation's saying I've got 8 Nuri already, and I love the moves. I'll be jumping on Foden soon if he shows me something. Yeah, it's going to be the game against Wolves. If he comes back against Wolves and he looks like he's up for it and getting really side by side with Haaland, and for all we know, Foden assists Haaland and vice versa, you've got magic there. And then it's just a case of, right, I'm taking out, in my case, Saka for Foden, and then it's done. So if I put my team up on screen here, so there it is as it stands right now. And for me, it really is kind of, because someone asked on Patreon, like, what's stopping me from doing hits? Because the players that I've been bringing on hits are just not worth the hit. So me doing a semi kind of luxury move for Calvert-Lewin out for Delap, I've still got a solid enough team where the following week in game week 9, it's potentially Saka out for Foden. The dunk out for 8 Nuri, I can still hold off for the fact that, it's Brighton away. It's not the greatest of fixtures. So, but it's just a case of, well, I either play Dunk at home to Wolves, or I have an attacking threat in 8 Nuri taking advantage of a terrible Brighton defence. But again, it's a luxury move, where for a -4 is Saka and Dunk out for Foden and 8 Nuri. Really worth it? Well, I don't think it is. I don't think it's particularly worth it. Whereas a free move of Saka to Foden or Dunk to 8 Nuri for free, perfectly fine moves. I was just saying, Nick, about the fact that with my team, the moves that I'm making can all be done for free, but I'd always be a week behind. So rather than doing like a -4 in game week 9 to take out Saka and Dunk for 8 Nuri and Foden, I could just do, well, Foden's got the better fixture over Saka, keep him. I've got Dunk versus Wolves if I choose to play him. And then the following week I can just do Dunk to 8 Nuri, and then I catch on to Wolves' good run of fixtures: Crystal Palace, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton. So that's why I'm kind of happy with myself so far this season, where I'm not taking these hits for the sake of it. We got a legend here. It's Alf. Alf, good evening, Alf. Welcome, pal. Good evening. I hope you're doing your Saturday evening this week, because I'll be listening in on Sunday potentially for that. In fact, there's no potentially about. I will be listening in on Sunday. 53% of people are saying DCL to that. Do it. Again, just to reiterate, I'm just wanting to catch the price changes / rises in Delap and make that money. It's more about that for me, catching that price rise and having that 0.3 in the bank rather than the 0.2 and so on and so forth. Animation saying, if your gut says it's Steve-O, do it. To be honest, I don't really have a specific gut feeling on doing it, to be completely frank, Tom. I'm not really that particularly bothered with it, to be completely frank. But for me, Nick, I just see the upside of bringing in Delap because of the money. You're muted, Nick. You need to put the microphone on. Don't look at me. Look at the camera. Nick's clearly hit a button there where he's accidentally pressed something in which he can't hear anything. Well, no, he can hear me, but for some reason he can't speak because he's muted himself. Oh, there we are. He's back. He's done something. Alf, we need you. Go on, speak again, Nick. There we go.
Sorry about that.
We heard the coughing. We were just saying about the fact that doing this luxury move for the money, Delap in for DCL.
Save the money. Do it.
Yeah, I think.
Save
Yeah,
the money.
I think it's going to.
If you're going to go budget, if you're going to go budget starting forward, you've got that in Delap. Like at the end of the season, Delap and DCL are probably going to have similar outputs. So you might as well save the money, invest that elsewhere when you need it. If it was like, I don't know whether to go Delap or Havertz, then it's a real, then it's a dilemma. What do you do with that cap? But they're so similarly priced. They're going to get a similar output at the end of the season. Delap's in a bit of form. His confidence is up. DCL started okay, but let's be honest, he's reverting to type now, isn't he? He's let you down the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, home fixtures for Ipswich. They lost 2-0 to Liverpool, a respectable result considering everybody thought they were going to get annihilated. They then lose to Man City 4-1, and by all accounts they put up a good fight. But then at home against Fulham, 1-1. Home against Aston Villa, 2-2. And they are going to be one of these teams this season which are going to be, like I said, they're going to be putting up a fight. It's not like I'm relying on a defender.
No.
I'm not relying on a defender to, like for instance, I'm not thinking, shall I bring in, which Ipswich defender shall I bring in? Shall it be Davis? Shall it be Greaves? Shall it be O'Shea? Whatever. I'm just thinking the striker here, and literally in fact, I'm going to do it now, Nick. I'm actually going to do it now. It's done.
Do it.
It's done, Nick. I have done that transfer. I'm going to make it right now. Hold on a minute. Press the wrong button. Confirm that transfer. Yeah, it's done. And it is literally for the money.
Like it. And then, now look, peace of mind. It's done.
Well, it's not even for me from a peace of mind point of view. It's more the fact that, like I say, I get that 0.3 in the bank. And it also means that I essentially can, if I want to, upgrade to Pickford in goal. And it also means that, unlike, say, with for instance, with Jason, who's every week taking these hits, I can just do these free moves and just plod along without having to go into this panic mode. Like you say, It's the same as what you were saying about your team. You're not going to panic mode by getting rid of... Again, we go back to your team, where it's very respectable. It's got a lot of the big heavy hitters that a lot of people are wanting to bring in the likes of owning Saka, Salah and Diaz. And you've got that small little differentials in the likes of Bowen. It's great.
Yeah.
I think
I'm happy with it.
And that's the key. That is the key for it. I think that's what you want it to be, just happy with what you're doing. What's it here? Colm saying, I didn't do Muniz to Jimenez because I thought it was too sideways. How wrong I was. FPL Onion saying, I'm back in the Leicester defence for the next 3. Got me a double clean sheet last week. I mean, let's not. Who were Leicester playing? Nick.
What, next week?
No, last game week. Who was it?
Oh, God.
I can easily check. It's not going to be too difficult for me whatsoever. It was, once I bring it up here in 2 seconds, Bournemouth.
Oh, yeah, that's why it's forgettable. 1-0 against
1-0.
Yeah.
Most people, they all went with their FPL prediction of, Bournemouth are going to win, score 2 or 3 goals. Now, I did say that I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, 1-1, maybe 2-1 either way. I didn't expect Leicester to keep a clean sheet. Leicester are going to be, pretty solid over the next... in fact, in my opinion, they're going to be pretty solid throughout the whole season with the way Steve Cooper sets up. But it's not going to be good enough for them to stay up in the league. The next fixtures, Southampton, Nottingham Forest, Ipswich. They're all perfectly good fixtures. But I would expect all 3 of those teams to score against Leicester. I would expect them to do so. And if Onions is relying on maybe potentially playing double, then good luck to you. I mean, Ash, if you want to just rewind the stream back, we've been slagging you off for the past. We've been saying, basically, Ash, we've been saying that me and Nick both agree that by game week 12, Nick could have caught you up by potentially 60 points. Potentially 60 points. You're still going to be ahead of him, but I think that genuinely, Ash, you should be quite worried. The only upside for you, Ash, is the fact that you've got your wild card and you could be really, really cheeky and go, no Haaland. FPL Onions saying on the performance, I mean, isn't Onions like top of your members league or something? Or he was last season.
He was up there for the month last month. I don't think he's overall. He must be doing pretty well, but I don't think he's leading it. But I'm happy to. Ash can check that. Ash, do something useful with yourself and check that for me, please.
He's just saying here that on the performance rating, Leicester are 9th out of the 20 according to Sofa scorings. Yeah, I'm sure they are when it comes to ratings and everything, doing very, very well. But if I look at Leicester's results over this season so far, they have not been... I mean, I'm going to be proven wrong right now as I quickly look at the fixtures that Leicester have played in. But they are as follows. So they got a clean sheet against Bournemouth, as we just said. They conceded 4 against Arsenal, 1 against Everton, 2 against Crystal Palace, 2 against Aston Villa, 2 against Fulham, 1 against Tottenham. And even at the start of the season, I actually thought that Leicester will probably stay up out of the 3 because I expected Steve Cooper to turn them into quite a defensively solid team. And in fact, coming up from the Championship, when I did my... In fact, I may even have it here. No, I don't have it here, but it turned out that Leicester, of the 3 promoted teams, actually had the best defence. Only by just, though. So I was expecting Steve Cooper to come in and actually just continue their defensive ways. But again, if you're happy going with Leicester from a defensive point of view, then yeah, that's obviously on you really. And I think this is it, isn't it, Nick? Where we are all, again, with FPL, it's just a prediction game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if you go for defenders from a cheaper team, they've got to have some sort of attacking threat. So yeah, your likes of your James Justin from a Leicester, fine. Obviously, I know Ash somehow got 6 points from Face last week, and again, is it Leif Davis at Ipswich? Again, someone who's got that attacking threat. Because if you're not going to get anything, or you're going to rely on 4 or 5 clean sheets in a season, you've got to have a little bit more, haven't you?
Well,
got to be another way. There's got to be another route to points, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and certainly he was just mentioning Leif Davis there with across the season. He's got one. He's only got one assist. I thought he had more than that. I thought he had like 2 or 3 this season so far.
He got like 18 last year, didn't he?
I thought it was higher than that.
I think he's going to... Was it? Maybe it was. Maybe it was over 20. But I don't think he... Obviously, we know he's not going to repeat that this season. But if he can get like 6 or 7 for the price he is, 4.5 million or whatever it is, it's like happy days.
Yeah, just to let people know, I've just done my transfer Delap in for Calvert-Lewin for the money, essentially. In fact, talking of Ash, he was obviously speaking to Praz last night about the DCL, and he just simply said he plays for Everton. Whereas Ipswich, I've got more about them to stay up in the league, and are scoring goals. Like you mentioned, Delap's in form at the moment, and for me, getting that 0. For me, at this early stage of the season, having that 0.3 in the bank is potentially going to be absolutely crucial. Just a few more comments here. FPL Onion is making the point that Justin could be dropped soon. Ricardo is a better defender.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
If you have only one free transfer only, COD Patrol is saying it doesn't make sense to make the move. Well, it does if you need to make... If you want to make some money, and that 0.3 for me is absolutely huge. David Hamill saying that Steve and Nick are on the cooking wine again. Not for me. Ash
all your mole knows, yeah, this could be beer. So
Ash saying that you're just.
He said, "Do I like to drink?" He said, "Do I like to drink?"
He drinks.
Tell him, Steve.
Do you know?
He drinks, yeah.
I really cannot stand that scene. It's just the way it's not the scene. It's more the bloke that says he just stands there, just he drinks. Al says, "Did you get those grass stains out your trousers?" Oh.
I don't know what that's in reference to. What is that in reference to?
Oh, come on. We've just been quoting it for the last 10 seconds.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's the bit where he speaks to Ray and Jews and he goes, "Oh, Cockles, the big cock. Next time you see him, ask him if he got the grass stains out of his trousers, not in front of his back." Oh. He realises that he's on the camera. And he's like, "Oh." In fact, there is a question for you. What's your opinion on Ricky Gervais these days?
I think you can only get away with being as offensive as he is if you're incredibly funny. And the issue is that he was. I don't know about stand-up. Like, I wouldn't say his stand-ups, his specials are the best you'll ever see, but they were very, very good still. But because they were so good, you could forgive a lot of the stuff. Not even forgive a lot, but just the way he did it was clever. Whereas now it appears that some of that cleverness has gone. It's always turned into this, like, not with the same political views as an Andrew Tate or a Donald Trump, but it's like it's all he talks about. You know, like these political figures where they become like a Ben Shapiro or all these people that go on Joe Rogan podcasts and just repeat themselves over and over and over and over again. Like his last special was almost like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we've done the trans thing. Yeah, we've done that. I know Ash said, my camera is shaking. I don't know why. It looks like a Saw video. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's jumping around. Or something from like a Luther, like, see, when there's a murder, like, I'm gonna come and get you. But yeah, I don't know how to fix this, and I'm nervous to like try and fix it, and it just completely.
We're going to be ending soon anyway, so just keep going, keep waffling.
I've suddenly contracted.
Alf, we need you.
Hour. Yeah, I just find his. I'm still a big fan of everything he's done. It hurts to say it, but I just think he's lost his way. I really do think he's lost his way. You know.
And this is my biggest issue with him. I think I've always said this. Well, I've always said it. I'm saying it of late. He should become a parody of himself. And it's just really, really boring. And funny enough, I was watching before you came on. It just popped up Ricky Gervais's best stand-up moments, and a few of the clips were from his older shows like Animals and Fame and Science. And I was genuinely laughing because there was no viciousness to what he's saying. He wasn't just putting his flag in the sand and going, "This is my opinion and you will listen," but you laugh along. And it's like, yeah, but all you're doing is just making these political statements because you're just an old, grumpy old man sick to death of this world. And you've got such a large presence on this planet, especially with your followers, that you can pretty much say anything you want and the crowd are going to lap it up. Whereas for people like me and you and diehard fans of Ricky, it's just sad to see the demise of a bloke who, between the early 2000s up to the 2010, 2012 era, he was just a god to me. But since the whole, I don't know, it really for me it has been since probably Afterlife. In fact, David Brent the movie. I think since then, 2015, 2016, his ego just got so big that it's just taken over his life. And then, of course,
I liked that movie though. I like Life on the Road. I actually liked it.
Why is that? Because I think the premise of it, I don't have the problem with. I just find it's just a bloke doing an impression of David Brent. I just can't deal with it.
Well, I love Doc Brown for a start. I really like him. No, I just found it was like it was a exaggerated version of David Brent. It didn't have the subtlety of the TV series. But then what I would say is it's in a film, it's a different market. And I think I like the last Luther film. Did you ever watch Luther?
No, I didn't.
So a lot of people, the film went on.
Oh, is that the one with the black guy? I forget his name. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Right. So my friend suggested to me to watch it, and I was like, "Well, I've never seen any of the TV show." Yeah, all right, I'll watch it. I couldn't. Is this the one where it was in the snow?
Towards the end.
Yeah, I thought it was rubbish. It wasn't for me at all.
Right. So I didn't mind that film because again, in a film's context, it's got to be. Everything has to fit into an hour and a half, right? So it's never going to be and also it can't be too subtle because when you're watching a box set, you can spread storylines out over 12 hours effectively. But when you've got an hour and a half to tell a story from start to finish, it's a slightly different situation. So I think you have to lower your expectations a little bit. But yeah, with that Life on the Road, I just found it funny. I think if you went into it watching it as a film, and I think it was the same with like Alan Partridge. I don't know if you're a Partridge fan.
I'm not. No, I don't get it.
I loved Alan Partridge, but when he did that like Alpha Papa film, again, it was just like an hour and a half of just stupid giggles, and it was good. Is it just the fact it's the only thing we both watch? The Office or Ricky Gervais stuff? Is it? Do we have anything else in common? Because everything I say, you should check this out. You're like, nah, I didn't like it.
All right, I've just started watching Game of Thrones.
I've never watched that.
Brilliant. Right, I think. Well, actually, talking of TV shows, so as you know, I started watching Lost. And the reason why I started watching Game of Thrones is because I was like, look, I really am a big fan of Lost, certainly Series 1. Series 2 is really good, but a bit too actiony for me, but it's very passable and I enjoy it. I started watching Series 3, Nick, and I was really struggling with it. Really struggling with it because I couldn't deal with the love story going on between Kate and Sawyer and Jack and the constant screaming, the crying, the cages, Juliet, the terrible acting by the one that plays Alex. I couldn't deal with it, and I couldn't suspend my disbelief enough. And I got to episode 8 and I'm like, I'm just going to stop watching this. I'm going to watch something new. Started Game of Thrones, and I'm going to be watching episode 6 in a minute. I have to say, Nick, I'm gripped. I have no idea what the fuck is going on. I am really, really enjoying it. So
the irony of someone who cannot stand listening to screaming and crying on a TV show, yet chooses to listen to deathcore is not lost on me. If there was a good lead guitar over the screaming and the crying, and that's in that episode of Lost, you would have stuck with it. Probably stuck it on the start of a bonus Total Steve podcast.
Yeah, precisely. Nick, I don't know what's going on with your camera or anything. I think it's been the perfect time to end the stream anyway. It's been nearly 2 hours, for crying out loud. It's just vanished into thin air like always. All I will say is that for anybody that has stuck with us from the start, thank you very much. It's been a right laugh with Nick and everything, and a lot of FPL chat, and hopefully just enjoyed it for what it is. Anybody watching on the replay, let us know, give us some feedback on whatnot, or maybe just do a cold booger and just simply write a comment for the algorithm. Who knows? Other than that, if you are brand new around here, make sure you are hitting the subscribe button and hitting the like button. Nick, have you got any other words of wisdom before we end the stream here?
Just subscribe to FPL Juice.
Yeah,
it's the one with the black guy. And other than that, we will be back. We will be back on Tuesday. Thank you for having me. Thank you, and I always appreciate like Elite FPL viewers. Steve sends you over to us from time to time, and we see you, and we appreciate you joining us. And yeah, listen, we enjoy playing the game. We don't take it too seriously. So if this is your sort of thing, be sure to check us out.
Yeah, same with Alf. Same with Alf on Saturday. It's all a laugh.
Yeah, forget Alf. This is my
stuff in there.
Time.
Fuck him.
All right. When Alf is on, he can talk about his own shit. But right now, I'm promoting my stuff. So I'd appreciate if we could just stick to that. Okay.
Perfect. Cheers, Nick. Cheers, everybody, for watching. See you later.
Thank you for having me. Later, guys.